If you own an Airbnb in Phoenix right now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked at your calendar and felt excited? For a lot of investors, those days are over. The calendar that once lit up with bookings now looks like Swiss cheese. Holes everywhere, cancellations popping up at the worst times, and bookings trickling in only after you slash your nightly rates so low that you start to even wonder if it's worth it. And when those reservations do come through, instead of celebrating, you feel your shoulders tense because you know what's next. Endless guest messages, cleaners to schedule, supplies to replace, and that little knot of worry in your stomach that something's gonna go wrong. This was supposed to be passive income, but right now, for a lot of people, it feels like a second job. A second job you never wanted. I hear it constantly. Stacy, I thought this was gonna give me freedom, but instead I feel chained to my phone. And you know what? You're not wrong. The Phoenix Airbnb market has shifted dramatically. What worked even 12 or 18 months ago just doesn't work the same way today. And unless you understand why and what to do about it, your property could slide from being an asset into becoming a liability fast. So today I want to walk you through why so many Phoenix Airbnbs are failing, the hidden reasons investors are burning out, and most importantly, what smart, savvy investors are doing instead to protect their time, sanity, and returns. So let's rewind a little bit. After COVID, the short-term rental boom hit Phoenix like a tidal wave. Everyone wanted in, people were buying properties left and right, furnishing them as fast as Amazon could deliver, and throwing them up on Airbnb or VRBO. And for a while, it worked beautifully. You could list a modest property in Scottsdale or Tempe and watch it get booked solid. Travelers were desperate to get away, hotels were understaffed, and demand was through the roof. Investors saw huge returns and thought, this is it. This is the easiest money I've ever made. But markets evolve and oversaturation always follows a gold rush. Phoenix now has thousands of Airbnbs, and when everyone's fighting for that small pool of guests, only the very top listings thrive. Everyone else, they're chasing the scraps. Add in rising costs, cleaners charging more, utilities spiking, furniture wearing out faster than you'd think with dozens of different people cycling through every month. Guests, too, have changed. They're tired of surprise fees. They're frustrated with inconsistent experiences. Many of them are drifting back towards hotels because hotels feel predictable. And on top of that, regulations. Scottsdale has already tightened its grip. Phoenix is watching closely, and that uncertainty leaves a lot of investors nervous. But let me tell you the biggest issue of all, and it's not just the market. It's the fact that so many owners are trying to run this themselves. They thought they'd save the management fee, but what they actually did was hire themselves into a stressful, low-paying job. Let's talk about the pain, because this is what most of you are actually living through. You're frustrated. You thought this was gonna be simple. Buy a property, furnish it, put it on Airbnb, watch the income roll in. Instead, you're constantly tweaking prices, stressing over vacancies, answering messages that could have been avoided if the guest just read the instructions. You're scared. You wonder if you bought at the wrong time, in the wrong neighborhood. You see headlines about new STR rules and think, am I one regulation away from disaster? And if you're being honest, you're probably exhausted because self-managing Airbnb isn't set it and forget it. It's a constant grind. Guests asking about Wi-Fi passwords you already sent, cleaners canceling last minute, a fridge breaking down right before check-in, all the little things you thought you'd avoid because this is supposed to be passive. Let me paint the picture. It's Friday night, your guests are checking in, they can't figure out how to use the smart lock. You're at dinner with your spouse, your phone is buzzing nonstop, and instead of enjoying the evening, you're walking someone through how to enter a 4-digit code. Saturday morning, your cleaner texts that they're sick. Now you're scrambling to find someone else before the next turnover. Does this sound familiar? And here's the kicker. While you're doing all this, your returns are shrinking because every time you drop your nightly rate just to get someone in, every time you cover another unexpected expense, every time you lose a weekend to stress, your ROI is evaporating. If you're a numbers-driven person, you are all about ROI. And right now, your numbers aren't adding up to the way you expected. And you don't want an investment that eats your weekends. You want something that works in the background while you enjoy your life, but instead it feels like this thing is running you. And that's why so many investors feel trapped. They think, maybe I should sell. Maybe I made a mistake. But the truth is, it's not the property that's broken, it's the model and the way it's being managed. Let's dig into why so many Airbnbs are struggling in Phoenix right now. First thing, oversupply. When everyone jumped in at once, the market flooded. Too many properties, not enough demand. If you're not in the top 10%, you're invisible. Costs. Everything costs more now. Cleanings, utilities, pest control, pool service, landscaping. And when guests turn constantly, all those costs stack up. Guest behavior. Guests are choosing hotels again. Hotels have predictability, gyms, loyalty points. They don't have cleaning fees or random house rules. Airbnbs have become less competitive. Regulations. Scottsdale's already clamped down. Phoenix is considering changes. Investors live with a constant fear that one city council vote could wipe them out. Owner burnout, the hidden factor. Properties don't fail just because of numbers. They fail because owners burn out trying to do everything themselves. They cut corners. They stop responding quickly. They give up. Let me give you an example. A client of mine owned a condo in Tempe. During spring training, it did amazing, $7,500 one month, but by summer, it was barely clearing $2,000. They managed it themselves, dealt with every single issue, and by the end of the year, they were ready to sell. Instead, we pivoted into a different model. Now it's booking nearly year-round, bringing in steady income, and the owner doesn't touch it. That's the difference between self-managing in an oversaturated Airbnb market and repositioning with the right strategy. Here's the hard truth. If you keep doing what you've been doing, nothing's going to magically improve. Bookings aren't going to spike back to 2021 levels. Costs aren't going to drop. Regulations aren't going to get looser. And the more you grind it out trying to self-manage, the more burned out you are going to feel. And here's what happens. People give up. They sell properties they actually could have held if only they had the right strategy and management in place. That's why I don't want you to give up. I want you to see the pivot that smart investors are making right now. So you're probably thinking, what's this move? The shift is midterm rentals, stays of 30 to 90 days. Midterm rentals are a completely different play. Instead of chasing weekend guests, you're housing traveling nurses, corporate relocations, families in transition, or insurance placements, people who need furnished housing for a couple of months. And why does this work? Longer stays mean fewer turnovers. Instead of 5 to 6 cleanings a month, you might have 5 to 6 a year. Occupancy is steadier. You're not relying on spring training or one big event to carry your entire year. Regulations are friendlier. Most cities treat 30+ day stays like a standard lease. Now let's talk numbers. A $500,000 property in Chandler as a long-term rental will rent for about $2,400 a month. As a short-term rental, maybe $4,000 if you're lucky, but inconsistent and stressful. As a midterm rental, $3,200 to $3,500 steady. Less wear, less turnovers, less stress. But here's the kicker. Even midterm rentals become a headache if you try to manage them yourself, because even though it's less turnover, there's still placement, communication, vendor coordination, bookkeeping, and that's why my clients don't manage themselves. They let me do it for them. I work with an investor who converted a struggling Scottsdale Airbnb into a midterm rental. We targeted traveling nurses and insurance placements. That property now averages $3,300 a month, nearly zero vacancy, and the owner hasn't taken a single tenant call. That's how it should feel. So you might be wondering, who exactly fills these properties? Let me paint a few pictures here for you, okay? Travel nurses. Imagine a nurse flying in Phoenix for a 13-week contract. She's been working long shifts in other cities. She's exhausted, and the last thing she wants is a cramped hotel room. She needs a quiet, furnished home where she can actually rest. She has a stipend of about $2,800 to $3,000 a month just for housing. That's steady, reliable demand. Insurance placements. A family's home floods or catches fire. They can't live there for 3 months while repairs are made. The insurance companies pays for them to stay somewhere comfortable. These families aren't price sensitive. Insurance covers it. Corporate relocation. A professional gets sent to Phoenix for a 90-day assignment. They don't want to live in a hotel. They want a furnished house with a real kitchen. And companies will pay for these. Families in transition. Maybe they sold their house faster than they expected, Maybe their new build is delayed. They need a bridge, a place that feels like home while they wait. These are not weekend party guests. These are quality tenants who stay longer, respect the property, and create steady income for you. Now, let's talk lifestyle because this is where the difference really shows. With Airbnb, you're basically running a mini hotel. Constant turnovers, messages at all hours, supplies always running low, you're tied to your phone, and you start to resent the very thing you thought would give you freedom. With midterm rentals and professional management, it's the opposite. Instead of dealing with 50 guests a year, you might deal with 5. Instead of stressing about cleaners every weekend, you schedule a handful of turnovers a year. Instead of constant guest complaints, you have stable tenants who stay 60 to 90 days. One couple I worked with in Chandler was so burnt out, they were ready to sell. They hated managing their Airbnb. We converted it to a midterm rental. I took over management, and now it's booked at $3,200 a month. They travel, they sleep better, and they told me, this is finally the passive income we thought we were buying. That is the lifestyle difference. And then there's the future. Short-term rental regulations are going to get tighter. Cities across the country are cracking down. Scottsdale already did. Phoenix is next. If your entire strategy relies on Airbnb, you're exposed. Midterm rentals, they're treated like traditional leases. They're safer legally, they're steadier financially, and with Phoenix's healthcare sector, corporate relocation, and steady population growth, demand is only going to increase. So here's the truth. If you're managing your rental yourself, you don't have passive income. You have another job. That's why so many Airbnbs are failing right now. But you don't have to sell, and you don't have to burn out, and you don't have to do this alone. You can pivot. You can reposition your property as a midterm rental, and with the right professional management, you can finally get the returns and the freedom you wanted in the first place. That's what I do. I'm a licensed realtor with over 20 years experience here in Phoenix. I help investors buy the right properties, convert underperforming Airbnbs into profitable midterm rentals, and I manage everything so you don't have to. Tenant placement, vendors, turnovers, communication, my team handles it all. You just collect the income. So if you're ready to stop managing and start investing, send me a DM, leave me a message. Let's run the numbers on your property and make a plan. Because real passive income isn't about doing it yourself. It's about having the right strategy and the right team in place.